Hey guys, going to talk a little bit about note duration. So we have been talking about notes on the staff. So now we're going to talk about how those notes on the staff then become a rhythm, which then becomes our song that we are singing. So we're just looking at the musictheory.net lesson, which is, I believe, one of the simplest and easiest ways to understand this, and it goes by pretty fast. Okay, so note duration is the length and time the note is played. So some notes are very, very short, some notes are very, very long. So the whole note, which is the note in modern music, that's this note right here. Okay, looks like a donut. All right, has the longest duration. Okay, oftentimes the standard duration is 4 beats because there are 4 beats in a measure, but that's going to vary depending on the time signature. But for right now, a whole note, we're just going to say is the longest note in duration. The half note is half the duration of a whole note. So if you do your math, it takes 2 half notes to get 1 whole note. Okay. The quarter note is a fourth of the duration of a whole note. So think of how many quarters does it take to make a dollar. So think of the whole note as a dollar, and it takes 4 quarters to equal a dollar. So 4 quarter notes equal 1 whole note. All right, so notes of smaller duration, they're going to have what we call a flag, okay? So if I go back, let's just go back and talk real quick because we didn't talk too much about this. So when we look at a note, we've got 2 parts to our note, okay? We've got the round part here, which is the note head, and then we have the long part here, which is the stem, okay? So think this is the note head, like you have a head, and then think of the stem like the stem of a flower. Now, as notes get shorter in duration, we're going to add what we call a flag to that particular note. Okay, just kind of waves right there, a flag. So this is our 8th note that we're looking at right here. So 2 eighth notes are going to occupy the same space as 1 quarter note. Okay, so that's how you see the little picture here that kind of gives you a visual of that. 2 eighth notes are going to equal 1 quarter note. Now, the difference between an eighth note with 1 flag compared to a 16th note with 2 flags. So you can imagine as you're processing this that the 16th note now is half as big or half as short in duration as the 8th note. Okay, so it takes 2 16th notes to equal 1 8th note, which means it takes 4 16th notes to equal 1 quarter note. Okay, so there you see that visual right there. Now, it's possible to have more flags. So we would have 8th note, 16th note, 32nd note, 64th note. These are very rare and seldom used. You will see a lot of this in violin music and percussion music. But they're not really common in what we do in choral music. Okay, so here's the big chart. So let's just kind of walk through it. All right. So here we have the grand poobah up here, the whole note, right? And then we discussed that a half note, it takes 2 half notes to equal a whole note. It takes 2 quarter notes to equal a half note, 4 quarter notes to equal a whole note. It takes 2 eighth notes to equal a quarter note, 4 eighth notes to equal a half note, 8 eighth notes to equal a whole note. And then finally, 2 16th notes to equal a half note, 4 16th notes to equal a quarter note, 8 16ths to equal an half note, and 16 16th notes to equal a whole note. It's kind of like, and a partridge in a pear tree. I mean, that's basically what we're talking about here, okay? So that is note duration. I'm going to go ahead and make a nice little screenshot of this particular picture so you can have it, and I'll put that in the Schoology assignment. Good luck.